Hey, everybody. Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And you know the drill by now. It's just going to be John and I in the house this week. I'll be kicking the ball over to the two of us in just a little bit for some, pretty much just video games chit-chat this week. I always say we're all over the map, but this time, relatively focused. Talking about a little bit of gaming with my nephew, which it's been the vast majority of the gaming I've been doing lately. But we also get into a little episode coordinating and veering off from that. I was planning on talking about Might and Magic Clash of Heroes and ended up just wedging it into a little Save It for the Cast conversation, and then we veer off into a little publisher and developer conversation from there. I talk a little bit even at the end about some of the different region versions of physical Switch games. But I know I mentioned at the top a little bit of gaming with my nephew, which will come up a little bit later. But honestly, that's been the vast majority of the gaming that I've been doing lately. My parents, his grandparents, are watching him this weekend for the last, I think it was like a 3.5 4-day stay over there. So I went over there on Friday after work, and then on Saturday, so just yesterday. And yesterday I brought my actual Switch, the full dock, extra controllers set up and everything. So that was the first time we ever actually played games together. Usually he's just been sitting on my lap with the Switch, in handheld mode and playing, Mario Kart or New Super Mario Brothers. And occasionally he'll get stuck on a part and pass the Switch over to me and go, okay, your turn. But it was really cool to play. We played all sorts of games, but we played New Super Mario Brothers U, the deluxe version on Switch. And then we played, so it was really cool to play, be able to rescue him when he fell off, into the lava or something, but then would just reappear in a bubble. And occasionally me as well. I've mentioned a few times now, on these Save It for the Cast intros and even on the podcast proper. He's really getting pretty good at games. I mean, by no means can he do the more challenging levels, or even when some of the levels are a little more vertical. One of the first castles in New Super Mario Brothers U is a pretty vertical level. You got to keep jumping on these rotating wheels or cogs or whatever that move these different platforms. And there's no way he would be able to do that one on his own, but he gets it. He's going through the motions. But maybe I just don't see enough kids play video games. Again, he's only 3 years old, but I'm just watching him line himself up directly under the, boxes to get the coins or the power ups, and finding the secret tubes that he remembers from when he played, in previous sessions with his mom and dad, or even with me, I guess. But we even dipped into some of the retro, because the first time I went over there, I didn't bring all my cartridges. So that's part of why I brought the whole rig and setup this time. But because I didn't have my cartridges, and he kept saying he wanted to play, a Mario game, I was like, well, why don't we dip into the Super Nintendo online? And, I think we were going to try NES, but we didn't get around to it. But we played a little bit of Super Mario World. And he seemed relatively into it, not as much as the newer ones, because I just think even though Super Mario World's really bright and vibrant and colorful, but I think there's maybe just something about that 3D element, because I started saying we played a little bit of Mario Kart as well. Again, this is the first time we played some split screen as opposed to just playing him playing. Or I did play the other day with at his birthday party. We played and had 4 or 5. I think there were actually 6 kids in the basement, and we were all passing the controllers around. I was sitting that one out and just facilitating the fun. But it was really just a blast to set up all the carts for the auto driving and the the antenna mode, so it keeps you steering on the tracks, other than for one of the kids that was just a little bit older, who was ticked when he saw me trying to set up those controls. But it was awesome, the fact that you can tweak it for the different players, and he was able to have fun trying to win, while all the other slightly younger kids were just happy to see the levels and grab the power-ups and just see the game in action. I don't really think they cared all that much if they were winning or losing. And I'm just so impressed. Again, I'm just going to be a broken record, I guess, every time I sit down and play some games with my nephew. But just the stuff from Nintendo, the way he just gets so excited and animated. We actually played a little Super Mario 3D World as well, which he has a little bit of a tougher time grasping, the running in full 3D, even with that game being essentially isometric, or not a fully 3D platformer, with full camera controls or anything like that. But he definitely was having a little bit of a tough time, figuring out exactly where to go, or stay on track and not just run right off the level. But once we got some of those levels in the game, do kind of force it into sort of it's still in 3D, but you're essentially side scrolling, like almost like in like a beat 'em up. Like there's like a little bit of depth to the level, but like you're really just running, from left to right. And like when we got to those sections, he was able to do so much better when we got to those. So I'm just so excited. Again, I'm a broken record, but I just can't wait to keep playing more video games with him, especially just seeing how much he's like fallen in love with these Nintendo characters. And yeah, other than that, I've actually been firing up my PS4 quite a bit lately. I've been picking up a bunch of games. I think I mentioned a few of them last time, but I did end up picking up the Spider-Man game as well. I've just always wanted to check that one out. I played a tiny bit of it when I borrowed it from a friend that I worked with like years and years and years ago. I guess right around the time it came out after he had finished it. He was like, man, you got to check this out. But I've played a little bit of it here, probably put about an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours in. I showed a little bit of it to John, actually. He made a quick pit stop in while he was kind of passing through town and just kind of crashed and stayed the night. And I was like, hey, I started this up today. You want to see a little bit of it in action? And I played about another, maybe half hour of the game, maybe an hour beyond what I had played since then. And I just kind of got to the point where it's fun and it's very flashy. Like John even mentioned, like, man, I haven't played games with cutscenes or production value like this in a long time, or maybe ever, because the game definitely looks great. And I'm playing the PS4 version. I know they've like remastered it and come out with some newer versions of the game, or newer games in the series, I guess. But nonetheless, like, it's definitely fun, but the combat's just super repetitive. It suffers from that Assassin's Creed syndrome where, like, the enemies kind of just form in a circle around you and, like, take turns one at a time. And it just feels like, and I'm playing on, like, the standard difficulty, but I'm dying a ton, like, because there's just wave after wave after wave of enemy. And it's just kind of like a button masher, but then interspersed in between that, you go to, like, different, like, story missions, and Peter's in the lab, in Dr. Otto's lab doing little pipe circuit puzzles and stuff like that. And it's just like a little bit like the pacing feels off, and really, like, essentially, like when you finish a mission, you just spawn on some rooftop, and then it basically just gives you some other new mission, and then you just web swing over to there, and it basically just takes time to sling your way over there. And I mean, it looks awesome, it feels awesome, but essentially, like, if you go down to the ground, and there are occasional like crimes that pop up that you can go try to break up, but essentially it's just like a little, random event that happens that you can either ignore, or, you get a few extra experience points or something if you do it. But it really does just feel like, rinse and repeat, go do this mission, then go do these side missions, then go swing to the next mission and do it all over again. And the combat's just so repetitive. I don't know. I just really was kind of, as much as I wanted to get into it and get sucked into a big game, I keep looking for like a bigger, longer, AAA production value kind of game that I can get sucked into, and I don't think this one's going to quite be the one. Apart from that, I've just been popping in. I mentioned I picked up that Crash and Spyro trilogy, and then I actually forgot that I picked up the Abe New and Tasty, or Oddworld New and Tasty. The original game was Abe's Odyssey on PS1, but for whatever reason, I was just kind of like, I kind of forgot that they've like remastered or remade a lot of these earlier PS1 games, or I guess not early, because Crash, and Spyro went on to have trilogies, and they're all included on the collection. But I played through the first world of Crash and Spyro. I definitely like Crash quite a bit more than Spyro. Just the level design and platforming feels a little more up my alley. Spyro's feels like kind of an early attempt at doing like a free roaming open world-ish kind of thing. Like, definitely feels inspired by Mario 64 and like the level layout, but just not as much going on. Kind of like empty and sparse. It looks great, it feels great to like move around and everything, but it just feels a little bit barren. Although I only played, again, just the first world of the first game, so maybe things will pick up a little bit. But the platforming's just not all that interesting. It's more just like, oh, let me just look around for the dragons that I can rescue or the gems that I can collect. But apart from that, I haven't found the gameplay all that engaging. Although I only played a little bit of Oddworld New and Tasty, but that was like almost like oh man, this looks great. And I kind of forgot how much I love that game. I own the original 2 games on PS1, but it was a game that more one of my friends had growing up. That I remember, like, that's my most vivid memory of actually playing that game, or even just watching it be played. But I just really love the like environment and the setting and the just tone of that one. And this remake seems like it did a great job of just setting the stage with like the opening cutscene and played a few of the, you know, puzzles right off the bat. And I was like, okay, I could see myself that maybe that's not like quite the AAA, you know, getting sucked into a game that I was talking about, but it is a longer game that I could definitely, you know, go on a little bit of an adventure with. So definitely having some fun with that. I've also been breaking out the 3DS a little bit again. Or I shouldn't say again, I guess again after a long time of not using it. I can't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast or not, but I think I'll save that for a little later because I've been playing some Star Fox 64, both the 3D version or the 3DS version and the N64 version on Switch, and then playing some other games on there too. So I think I'll save that for when Randall and John are in the house, since they're probably a little bit bigger Star Fox fans than myself, although I've definitely been having a good time. But yeah, I think I've done more than enough rambling here. I've been playing a ton of other games, but I'll save those for next time. I can't believe this is the 99th Save It for the Cast here. So yeah, maybe I'll do a little something extra for the next one, but probably not. It'll probably be just a traditional intro for the episode. But nonetheless, yeah, I've done enough rambling here, so I'll kick it over to John and I for a little more video games chit-chat. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care. Games with my nephew the other day. I'll probably end up actually talking about this on a Save It for the Cast down the road, because it was just so cute. He's like obsessed with the Switch. Like he was like playing, like he used to always like every time he wanted like a phone or somebody's phone, he'd be like, hey, I want Uncle Kevin's moat. He calls like a phone is like a remote. So he's like, I want the moat. I want the Kevin moat. And one time I actually brought my Switch over, and then the next time I saw him, he was like, hey, where's the Uncle Kevin moat? And then I was like, oh man, I should have brought it again. So they have a Switch too, and he's been playing a bunch of Mario. So it's just so cute. Like every time there's like a new thing that pops up, he's like superpower when there's like a new like, you know, ability that pops up. But then I was so impressed. Like I'd be playing the level, like he'd let me play it because he couldn't. Once he knows he can't beat it, he's like, he just hands it to me. And then I'm running through, but he would like point out, they must have played the levels together, like with my brother and Brooke. He'd point out, or Brooke, his mom, my sister-in-law. I'm like talking about them like you know them. But shoot, what was I gonna say now about that? Oh yeah, he would like point, like, you know how like a lot of the levels in those new Super Mario Brothers games, we were playing the Wii U version, but like the Switch port.
Right.
But he'd be like pointing at the invisible walls and going, coins. And I was like, oh, what's he talking about? And then I like ran through the wall, and I'm like, oh shit, he like remembers all the like invisible secrets.
Hell yeah.
It's cool. And he kept going like, where's the Luigi button? Where's the Luigi button? And so that made me kind of realize too, because I used to think like, oh, it's so dumb. Like, you know, you die 10 times or whatever, and then it's like, hey, do you want to let Luigi help you beat the level? Or they do that in the Donkey Kong games. I was like, this is so dumb. But like seeing how excited he was when that button showed up, and like, all right, like we can beat the level, like we can do it. And it's just a video of Luigi playing it like a total fucking hack. I don't even think he presses the run button the whole time. It's like a joke.
That's incredible.
It was like painful to watch, but he was like, my nephew was getting so pumped, and I was like, man, I can't believe there was a point in time where I was like, what a joke, Nintendo adding in these. I was never like mad about it, but it would like sometimes annoy me when I'd be like playing and like
Funky Kong mode.
Man, I've only died. Well, that's annoying in the sense that it's like they're acting like it's this new additional feature to the game, which it is, but it's like it's not really a selling point for someone like me who already owns the game.
Yes.
And it's not like if that's the only thing you're adding to this new edition, then I would. But even still, though, that's the first thing I thought was like, oh man, they should get Tropical Freeze because Funky Kong would be perfect for him to play as.
Yep.
Because I think he plays as like Nabbit when they all play together. Or right now they're kind of getting away with just like, hey, here, hold the controller. But it was so cute. He'd like be passing me the Switch, like he'd play for a second, and then he'd go, your turn, and just pass it over to me to play. But he really gets into like the like Halloween, like spooky stuff. Like at least ever since this year at Halloween, he just kept like getting pumped every time he saw pumpkins and whatever. So he like is looking at all the games on my Switch and he's like pointing at them or just actually like pushing the screen and picking which one he wanted to play. And he's like, oh, Crypt of the Necro Dancer. Let's check that one out. And he was like actually like kind of obviously not knowing what he's doing, but I put it on the bard mode so you didn't have to like play to the beat of the music.
Yeah.
And he was like moving around and bumping into enemies just by happenstance. And I was like, oh, he's like, he gets it, you know, to a degree. He obviously wasn't like playing the game, but like and then I booted up Cadence of Hyrule for a second, and not just the downloaded version because I haven't opened this one yet, but like there was like this trigger, like you had to walk to this switch and then walk back to the door and go in. And I was like, hey, go over here, touch this. And like, it took him a few tries, but like he got it. And I'm like, he's not even 3 years old yet, man. This is crazy.
My nibblings all played the on Mario Kart 8 with the assist on.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I forgot they have that in there. Yeah.
But that was just such a great way, especially for like an 8-player game or whatever. Yeah. It's like just give every kid a Wiimote, half of a Wiimote, or like and like bam, you have them occupied. Like that, they're the majority of the time they spend is just arguing over who gets to pick the level.
Right.
Like, where it's just like, no, I want to do the beehive level.
Right,
like,
right. And not getting like that it just randomly selects from like one that everybody picks. Like, why don't we get to play this one?
Yeah.
You know, ever. It's never picking my level.
Yeah. And then like they're not really controlling what's like they are, but like the game is making sure they all stay on track. And,
yeah, it's like having like bumpers at bowling or whatever.
Yeah, it's great.
But that's perfect because my nephew's actually really into cars. I don't know if they have Mario Kart or not. I think I asked them, but I told my mom because she was at his birthday's coming up and she was like, should we get him a game or something? I was like, he's probably like a little ways off before he, you know, fully gets it. But I told her, I was like, since he's into all like the spooky stuff, I was like, get Luigi's Mansion 3. I was like, I think he'd like love, like if my brother or his wife were playing that and he's just like kind of watching.
Yeah.
I think he would just love that. But I think he's just so fascinated by the fact that like, cause he's obviously enjoys like watching shows or watching whatever on like a TV or phone or tablet or whatever. Not that he's always just he plays outside and stuff too. Not that he's always just like staring at the screens. They're pretty good about like balancing that. But like, I think he's just it's so cool to him to like see something happening on the screen that he's like kind of controlling, or watching, or even watching someone else control. Because like the cutest thing was like as soon as I was getting ready to leave for the night, I just went over there to watch like the Masters golf tournament and like just kind of hang out. But literally, I was just playing video games with him like pretty much the whole time that he was awake. And then as soon as we finished, the other game I was showing him was that Monimals game. He was loving that game. It's like that fishing platformer that really has like Nintendo energy. So it's a real like bright and colorful. But like the last like creature that we caught in the game was called like a Sea Hurts, because it's like you can like make like music in the game too. So it's like all like music puns. Mm-hmm. But like, so I like told him, I was like, oh, hey, we just caught a Sea Hurts. And like, as soon as we finished, that was the last thing we played. And he like, you know, we shut off the game and he like ran over to his mom. And he's like, Mom. He's like telling her all these stories, like rattling off everything. But I clearly heard he's like, and seahorse. And like, I was like, oh, he's like, he just felt like me and him went on an adventure for the last like 5 hours. And it like melted my heart, man.
That's
I was like,
so
this
good.
Is so awesome. Like, I can't wait till he's just like, I can wait because I don't want him to grow up. But like,
God, it happens so fast.
So fast. But like what I was gonna say though is like I can't wait though till we can like play some games together and he can actually play and I don't have to like be like, oh, here's like the cheesy, cheap way to play for a kid or to fake play. Like I'm really excited for like seeing him actually be able to play.
Oh, we're gonna start getting a bunch of stories from Randall about Fiona soon that are gonna be like, oh, I'm not ready for this actually.
I know. That's so awesome though.
Yeah.
It's so cool to just like watch kids be like fascinated with this stuff.
Yeah.
I was even gonna tell my mom to like maybe look into getting like some of that Labo stuff for them because that I think he would really like that. I don't know how like expensive that stuff is these days or how hard it is to track down. So I was like, I'm not even gonna mention it Because like I could see my mom being like, "Oh, that looks really cool. Now I have to find it." You know, like he's gonna love it. I have to find it. Yep. So I was like, "Yeah, let's just not even broach that subject."
We should clap. But we're an hour in.
Yeah, for real. All right, so yeah, what should we do here? We got or what order do we want to hack stuff out in? I guess I probably will just talk some Wii U action. Yeah, that's the only other thing I have been playing actually is Might and Magic Clash of Heroes.
Right, because you got that version of it. Did you not talk about that on the?
I don't think I did because like I remember
just in the Discord.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I might have like mentioned it briefly because I think I did talk to you guys about how it has that like hot seat mode,
right?
Like where you can't play can't play versus locally without or with multiple controllers, which makes me even more mad because there is like a 2 versus 2 mode in the game, which then so it allows you to connect 2 controllers. Like at first I was like, well, maybe they just like didn't program in like connecting a second gamepad, and like for whatever reason they just didn't do it. And that's like why it's not in there. But I was like, oh, but if you can actually connect a second controller, like get the fuck out of here. That's so dumb. It's like the last thing I want to do is touch a sweaty controller after somebody else just passed it over to me. But yeah, I probably could just save that because I was like waiting up for that game for a long time. Number one, I didn't pick it up because I was waiting to buy that physical copy. But I know Randall scooped it up too.
Right.
And I kept thinking, and he played it for like a little bit. This was like months and months ago, so I'm sure he doesn't have any intention of talking about it again. But in my head, I was like, he could touch on it potentially with me. Have you ever played that game?
No.
It's amazing.
You guys keep bringing it up.
The battle system is just amazing.
But I shouldn't get this version apparently because
at least not on Switch or on Steam. Apparently, you can't do that. Well, but you can still do like online battles and stuff. But like, it's basically like a match 3 puzzler where like you have the grid, like you can select multiple different types of units, and you're like battling. Like your characters are on the bottom of the screen and your opponents on the top, and then there's like a line at the top of the screen. So like that's like the enemy's like health bar. Like if you hit like their line or they hit yours, it does like damage to your actual character. Otherwise, you're just like damaging the little like units or minions. And if
Which one is this?
It's called Might and Magic Clash of Heroes.
Gotcha.
It's developed by the people who made Critter Crunch. And you either like line up your units of the same color horizontally to form a wall, or you line them up vertically to form like an attack formation. And then each like unit type has like, does different amounts of damage and waits a certain, like once they're charged up to attack, like the bears that are more powerful, they take 3 turns to charge up and do their attack. Whereas like the archers will do it on the next turn or whatever. Like it's just such a well-balanced game. Like me and Steve used to have some like really cutthroat matches like back and forth. That's why I was so mad. I was like, that's like the main reason I want to get this game is for the potential of doing that, even though I don't have anybody to play it with.
Right.
But nonetheless, it was like the idea of like, oh man, I want to have that experience again. And like, well, I definitely don't want to do it passing a sweaty controller back and forth. But nonetheless, it's an awesome game. And like the
other developer that did it was part DotDemu. Like they work with I think other or other developers because they were part of Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah, I think they're just like a publisher, or they might like work on like the ports or something like that too. I'm not 100% sure.
Sense. Yeah, but they were on the devs for the Might and Magic Clash of Heroes Definitive Edition.
Yeah, they must have done like the port then or something.
Yeah, because they're not in. They were just the developer. Ooh, Windjammers 2. Okay, so they did develop Windjammers 2.
Yeah, I think they have like a branch, for both, because they definitely do a lot of publishing.
Right, they were one of the 3 developers for Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah, but even still though, I think they might like just be doing development like on the port. Like I don't know if they're actually like doing any creative work on the game. I could totally be wrong, but
I mean, they're the sole dev on Windjammers 2, so I would assume they're doing
That's
it for
cool.
that one at least.
That's a cool game, actually. That's actually a really cool game.
Ooh, Twinkle Star Sprites.
But even that's like did they make a new
SNK.
one? Okay.
So SNK is the publisher. They're just one of the developers on it. That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting like how they divide up.
I think that's how they got started, though, because I remember that name coming up. I think they did do a lot of like those retro like collections and ports and stuff like that. I could totally be mixing them up with somebody else, but
okay, so I
think they did a lot of those.
Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
Okay.
God, yeah, that's so interesting because like I don't know Heroes of Might and Magic as a series.
I don't really either. Like, I mean, I know of the name. Like, my brother had one of them on PS2, but even that I feel like was a spin-off because it was like a third-person action game, and I'm pretty sure it's like a RPG like strategy series. But
it's .emu, not .dotemu. What am I, an idiot?
I thought because I that's what I thought it was. Yeah, because I think they might have even been like a website, like way back in the day of like an emulator website. Like again, I might be like totally misremembering it, but I feel like that's where I thought their name came from.
On Steam, they are listed as the sole developer for The Last Express, a game by Jordan Mechner.
Okay, so yeah, sometimes they
might be getting credit for things just because someone needs to be the developer listed.
Like Jordan Mechner, like isn't a developer on Steam, so like,
and we
gotta have it listed under something.
On me talking about whatchamacallit, Roller Coaster Tycoon. So
yeah,
I'll save that for the cast.
I went back to that game store that had like all those physical copies, and I ended up scooping up Cadence of Hyrule and Astral Chain.
Nice.
But I haven't opened them yet because I took a closer look. So they're like the Middle Eastern versions of the games.
Okay.
But like, so the Middle Eastern versions, and I noticed because I was like, I think I have another game like this in my collection, and Paper Mario Origami King. So I still ended up getting not the right version.
Oh my God.
They still use like whatever the ESRB rating, they still use the same rating system, so it still has the same logo on the front. Incredible. But on the back, there's just this like tiny little thing that says like official product of like I don't know if it doesn't. I think it says something in Middle East, and then there's a few other things, a few other like countries or something listed, and then there's like a tiny little like green. Like light green, like triangle at the bottom left corner of the like label that signifies that it's from that region. And I'm like, I haven't unwrapped them yet. And I was like, should I take these back? It's like so dumb. There's still work on my system.
Yeah, I know. I was like, they're not region locked. They're harder and harder to get with each passing. Like
I know.
day. So
I know. So it's like, and I got the Astral Chain was $50 only too. So I was like, oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I think the only difference is possibly like, how they like will have the game will have like it'll have like the text and whatever on the back and the front in English, and then in smaller print it might be in like Spanish or French or whatever. Like I think it might just like include an extra language or something on some of it because it seems like there's like a little extra text or something. But
it's a bonus content. You're getting extra stuff that you can't get on the American release.
So yeah, a little bit annoyed that I gotta like now at this store, I gotta be like on the lookout even at their new copies.
Yeah.
But whatever, I guess that's how they keep everything in stock. They probably just go, hey, whatever we can get the best price on,
we'll
100%. Just stock that. And
see what happens. Because, yeah, their other location I almost bought Advance Wars from them, but they had the PAL version. And I was like, maybe I'll get this another time. And then when I went to their other location, they had the regular one. I double checked when I got home. I was like, I bet you that one's the fucking Middle East version. And then I came home and I was like, no, it's the right one. But again, it really doesn't matter. And I do have a couple that I like didn't even, well, there's some that I have that I knew, like I have like Okami was like only released physically in Japan, I think.
Gotcha.
Early in that region. And then a few other ones that I have, but like I bought Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, and I have like the PAL version of that. I didn't realize until after I opened it. So it's like, what do I care if I like, just because I noticed it before I opened them, now I'm going to return them, but I don't know. The other part of me is like, I could return them. I did just quit my job, so it might not be a bad idea to get that $90 back.